I made this pond from, I had a circular bowl which is inside this box here, and the timber came from pallets, so I have a machine that I can run the timber pallet planks through and it planes them. And then I was experimenting at the edge here, and what I'm hoping to do with the whole lot is to burn all of the timbers and then put linseed oil on them, so I'll have this black colour over the whole area. The water's a little bit dirty at the moment because it's only new and I'm trying to achieve a balance through plants and oxygenating plants, and it's starting to clear up a little bit from what it was. You can see that it's fairly clear down as far as the stones there. Something else that I've been experimenting with is these little bonsais in timber planters, and what I call that plant pot is a one plank planter. I have a few more of them. This one and this one, all made from one pallet plank, and the trees, well, there's a little self-seeded volunteer tomato in there, but the seedlings are just ones I collected that are, I suppose, weeds. They just came up somewhere, but this is an ash tree, and then this one is a silver birch. So they cost nothing to do these, and in a few years time there'll be a really cool bonsai in a little planter. On this one here I've added some linseed oil. And then this one here is a miniature forest. It's got 1, 2, 3, 4 trees in a bigger planter with linseed oil. And then I've got pieces of what I found on the bog, which is pieces of bog oak. This is what we call the secret garden. It's not totally secret, but when we bought the house it was very secret. There was a lot more hedges around it, but it's kind of hidden and parts of it are secret. This is a pond that I'm hoping to eventually have filled from the gutters on the house, and then we'll have a track coming across here and into the pond, and when the water comes in it will overflow into this bed of plants that really like wet conditions, like the Rheum palmatum, which is a rhubarb, the Aruncus dioecious, which is goat's beard they call it, the Dixonia, which is a tree fern, and there's other little bits and pieces like Candelabra primulas and hostas that are hidden there. Nice Japanese maples, plants that like semi-shade or shade. This plant here is Mimulus, the yellow flower, and it's really good at keeping the water clean. As you can see, there's lots of algae here, but the water itself is quite clean, and it's absolutely full of water snails doing their job as well. You've probably seen this in one of the other videos. This is Antideschia aethiopica. Lovely hosta here as well. And the candelabra primulus. And things growing across. This down here, I'll bring you around the other side, is something I've been working on for years but never finished properly. It's a sunken patio. And it's quite sheltered for weather that's a little bit windy. I live on a hill, and windy weather tends to be something that we get a lot because we're on a hill. So it needs a bit of a clean up and a weed at the moment. But there's sleepers at the edges, and you're looking at planting here. And I built this little wall from stones that were lying around. It needs a bit of finishing though. More shade loving plants. This one here is going to be really special when it comes out, but it's not out yet. It's Herbaceous, and it's a spectacular looking kind of arum type lily. Nice perennials. This is the cottage garden in front of our house. Kind of loosely termed a cottage garden because it has bits of anything and everything in the perennial. And spring bulbs, family of things. I'm looking down the garden at all the dogs. Tony is in front. Tiny Tony, the little terrible terrier. Always wagging his tail, always happy. That's Baxter there, that always looks a little bit unsure and a little bit anxious. He's not so anxious now though. Ella is behind him. Ella we think is about 17 years old and she still looks like a puppy. And this is Alfie that was in the other video. He's about 14 and his back legs are starting to get a bit wobbly. He's getting old. And he did a lot of running and trying to round up things when he was younger. And popping her head out the door is Hayley. All of these gates have been built from pallets, this one and some of the others. I like making things for free. This is the front driveway. Lavenders along here we just had planted recently. Over here is my workshop, and this is what we call Lenihan's Lane. Lenihans were the people who owned the house originally. This lane wasn't here. There was a little bit of a gap and we made it bigger. And I just got some new pallets which I can make some things from. Local farmer gives them to me. He gets fertilizer delivered on them. These ones here are just for chopping up, maybe for kindling for firewood. These ones here are in much better condition, so that makes it really valuable wood for making things like gates and fences and cladding for things connected to the timber cabin down there. I probably told some of you about before. This is the cottage we live in, and it's a cottage that's about 120 years old, there or thereabouts. We don't know the exact age, but it was built in around 1900, and it's a stone cottage built with stones, limestone and mortar, and then this piece was added on maybe about 20 years ago now. One of those gates built by the pallets. And this is an outdoor bath, and it does work. It's sanded down, but I like the colour and texture. What we do is we light a fire underneath and leave it for about an hour and a half or 2 hours, and then it's hot, and then you can have a bath. bath outside. We add iron to the pot here, sulphate of iron, to try and get the hydrangea to go a little bit blue. It's quite difficult because our water is quite limey, which is the opposite. And this is our Gunnera manicata, or Gunnera tinctoria should I say. It's a giant rhubarb, same family as rhubarb, but you can't eat it. And this is the kitchen garden. Things are a little bit messy at the moment. Things are growing a lot. There's a lot of weeds. July is the time of year when things start to get a bit crazy and mental and get ahead of you. So this is the hay shed and these are the stables. 3 stables and a smaller shed which the donkeys go into when the weather's bad at night. And I built this 13 years ago, maybe 12 years ago. Kind of look a bit like a wishing well, and we just grow our strawberries in it. Cherry tree, apple tree, raspberries, glass house. So this is what we call the bee garden. We're using this for, or we're allowing some things within the kitchen garden that are just for the bees and for pollination. And this is Mia. Meow. Yeah. Down here is Topsy. And Topsy's a little bit confused because the weather got cold. She thinks it's hibernation time, so she's kind of half burying herself in there. Topsy's a 50-year-old tortoise. Parsnips. Red onions. So we've been picking the leaves off the edges of this, or off the sides of these lettuce, but they're nearly finished now. We use marigolds in the kitchen garden as a deterrent, because the smell is quite pungent, deterrent to some pests. It's also a sacrificial plant because if there are slugs and snails, they'll eat these more quickly than they'll go for the lettuce. And then the third thing really, which is most important, is that they actually look really nice. Gooseberry bushes we planted last year. We got some of them this year, but not so much. We had old gooseberry bushes which we got rid of. That one there is a blackcurrant. Sweet pea growing up along this. Dahlia, some cosmos. Onions, and some of them are almost ready. They're starting to collapse over. That's a sign that they're almost ready for picking. They'll be picked soon, and then we'll hang them on something to dry them. And in between we have some carrots. This is a red currant bush. So we just pulled out some purple sprouting broccoli, I think that was finished, and new things gone in there. I'm not sure what brassica they are. This is coriander at the edge. And this is, somebody gave me a plum tree, a Victoria plum tree, and it needs a spray. It's got some pests and diseases on them. This is Acer Davidii, really nice snake barked maple. Got lots of trees. It kind of shades things a bit, but it's worth having them. Scots pine and an ash tree which hasn't succumbed so far, fingers crossed, to ash dieback. And these are the calendulas, which are the ordinary marigolds, the pot marigolds. The other ones are French marigolds. Totally different family, no relation. And these are main crop potatoes. A Sarpo potato, not sure which other one they are, I can't remember whether they're Sarpo Mira or Sarpo Axona. Some more of them there, and a couple of outdoor courgettes. This is a lemon tree that looks really healthy sometimes and green, and then other times it looks quite ropey, and it does tend to get a little bit of red spider mite and some scale insect. These are all very, very, very premature lemons. These two guys out here are Gandalf and Dumbledore. They are two male geese we just got a couple of weeks ago from different places, but we needed a pal for Gandalf. So a couple of days after we got Gandalf, we rescued Dumbledore too. Down here is what we call Goatstown. That's where the goats stay. They're shut in for a while, so is the chickens and the geese and the ducks can free range a little bit outside. If we leave the hatch over there open, the goats will get in and get some of our fruit trees. So they're shut in at the moment while they digest the big load of food they had earlier on today. And in here we have a few different varieties of tomatoes. I think there's some Moneymaker, there's some beef tomatoes over here, and a couple of Gardener's Delight. And below them we have, not doing as well as in the Cottage in Park House, but these guys are some aubergines, eggplants, and we have also some peppers. We bury these pots in the ground just as a matter of interest, so we can pour water in and it gets the water deep down and encourages the roots of the tomatoes and the other guys downwards. The deeper something roots, the better it is, obviously, for the plant. It can hold moisture and be more resilient for longer. These are loganberries and raspberries. This is kind of a nursery area. Sometimes there's more plants, sometimes there's less. Everything's looking a little bit messy around here because, as I say, at this time of year it's a little bit busy. This is something on the list for work, is to put a totally new roof on this. It's two sheds joined together, and it's a bit of a gardening shed and a storage shed for some of the vegetables and things we store over the winter. And then also, by times, the guinea pigs will go in there if the weather's cold, and they come out here when the weather's warmer, and they go into the tunnel sometimes, and they go into the house sometimes. And this is our compost area. This is the one we are feeding at the moment, so the new stuff is on it. This one is one that was the last one to be fed, and it was thrown across from here to here. And this is some manure, and this is some manure that's older, and this is where it will be tossed into, and then this is manure and compost mixed together that is ready to use. Here we have a look. As I say, this area is a little bit messy at the moment. And in here we have courgettes and cucumbers, more cucumbers, some parsley at the back. Built these from pallets as well. They are strawberry shelving systems. And we have a grapevine. This one is Black Hamburg, and it's the best example of a grapevine I've ever come across. It produces so much fruit really well. How I look after this is in the spring, very early spring, I cut it right back to the main stem. That's this one here. You can see you can have a bunch of where it is, cut it right back. And then in the spring, as it starts to form flowers, or trusses, flower trusses which become fruit trusses, I cut back to the point where the fruit truss is, and then I have to maybe 5-6 times a year I have to take the shoots off. There's celery here, and some carrots, and some new lettuce. Some more tomatoes. These are pumpkins and squashes. And hiding, but I think you saw them earlier on, our little guinea pigs. They're all females, all sisters. And that one there is Peanut, and there's another one peeping out. And this here is the goat shed and the ramps and things for them to play on. There's still more to do with it, but it's all been built from pallets. Some panels and then some other pallets as well, ripped apart. So that's what we've been doing with all that. And this is a work in progress. The walkway down to the cabin. Started building this about 2 years ago, and it's kind of finished, but there are some little bits and pieces to be done before we can allow people to come and stay in it. It's made to be kind of wild, natural at least. We call it an orchard cabin because we've got lots of apple trees around behind it. This is a work in progress as well. It's a toilet and shower block. So there's a compost toilet and a shower which will be inside it. And then it continues on down along here to a little viewing point because we're on a hill, as I say. I know the hedges are high at the moment, but you can see out through the bottom there a bit of a gap. And there's a plan maybe to put a viewing point up in the tree there as well. So you can see off into the distance, and out here you can see a beautiful field. Some poppies coming up in that corn there. All of this has been made from pallets, completely from pallet wood. Even the chunky stuff was from pallet wood. The door is from an old shed. Kind of like the look of it, but I think I'll probably have to paint it. This is not from pallets. This here was made from pressure treated spruce and the corrugated as well. So, and it has a green roof, but the green roof is it's quite thin, and I've lost some of the grass. It's died there in the dry period of 12 weeks. So I had these pieces of glass and they were toughened and laminated. So I made a frame to suit them and spun them like that. And this is the cabin. We have had people staying, but it still needs a bit more work. Kitchen, little storage areas, counter, sofa, little fire, and a bed. And all of it's inside is clad with a tongue and groove. I think it's probably just a spruce of some sort. But it's quite nice. And again, these windows, they were long windows I had, or long panes of glass I had. And in the winter, the hedge is cut down to a point where you can actually see out through these windows all across all of the agricultural land. So there's a water supply in it, and there is heat from here. But it's well insulated. It's got 100mm of insulation, and then an air gap, and the cladding as well. And it's got an electrical source as well. And that's really it in here. And that's looking right back up to the top of where we are. Hey lads! berryfoot. This plant is kind of cool. It's called, oh, hello Tony. Saying hello. Dicky boy. Good boy. There's Haley as well. Okay, that's enough now. That's enough now. So this plant here is Eucomus Tony Eucomus bicolor, and it's really cool. It gets a kind of a pineapple-y stalk of flowers on the top. You can see the stems are really cool as well. And here we have a young fig tree, but it produces figs and they actually ripen on it, which is really cool too. Echinacea starting here. Some nice canna lilies. Heuchera marmalade, probably. Carex testacea. Or purple heuchera. Chocolate ruffles or something, I'm not sure. I'm guessing here now. Varieties are so numerous nowadays. Alstroemeria. A lily about to come out. These are annuals called zinnia. Another lovely heuchera. We like heucheras here. And this guy is a cousin of the other Aracema we mentioned. The stem is really cool and the flower has kind of just finished, but let's see if we can find the remnants of it. It was really cool. This was it. And I do have a picture, so I'll be able to root that out and show you, but that's what it was like. Really cool lily. This here is just finished flowering. It's sweet woodruff, and it's in the same family as cleavers, and it's really rampant, but it's kind of really cool ground cover. And this is an interesting thing. This tree, we never planted it. It was a seedling, and it was just over here on the edge, maybe about 8-9 years ago. And it's a birch, as you can see. But so birch are, when they come from seed, there's huge variation in the genetic makeup of them. So you can see the colour of this is really spectacular. It's not silver at all. It's kind of beautiful tones of kind of amber and chocolatey colours. And it's really tall and it's growing really fast, and it makes a really nice centerpiece to this area. Broom are a really good plant for a dry shaded area. Another one here, these are new plants, we only put them in this year. Pulmonaria, lungwort, and they are really good for a shaded area. Over here is another variety of Pulmonaria, but you can see it's doing really well all the way along the edge here. Been here a few years and it really is established now and getting wider and bigger. This is just coming into flower. Semifuga I was going to call it, but it's not Semifuga, I can't remember what it's called.